Greetings. This is another installment of the CJ Wilkins YouTube channel and also the Be a Man podcast affiliate. I want to welcome you gentlemen in. It's been a while since I've done an episode. I've been taking time to take care of personal matters and just honestly exist for a while, right? Really haven't been in the space of content creation as heavy, and I'm gonna start up a new cycle of putting out content more frequently. I appreciate you guys' patience with me, always keeping me up in prayer and always shooting me like inspiring messages and positive feedback to some of my episodes. I appreciate that a great deal. Today I want to have a conversation about the importance of men having their faculties in life in order, having their affairs in the correct place. There's a great amount of resentment that is built in a man's life when he is in a perpetual state, when he's in a constant cycle of failure and despair, and he's in a extended losing season, and there is a perpetual state of mediocrity. Even the worst of men, even the least ambitious of men, even the men who aren't quote unquote alpha per se, as we say on the manosphere, every man has a desire for admiration. Every man has a modicum of a desire for success in life. How that man goes about pursuing it, or even if he has the wherewithal or the confidence or the drive or the ambition or the wherewithal to even try to make a valiant effort to become successful, that's a completely different conversation that we will not have today. But I believe there's something to be said about the quality of life for men who have the foundational items in place for a good life versus the guys who don't. And let me tell you how I came about this episodic topic here, right? I came across this episode topic by having traveled back home a few months ago, right? And got from the projects, the typical inner city kid story, right? But one thing that you'll notice is a lot of times when you go back home, especially for you guys who have you moved away from your hometown and you went out into the world on your own, and you made your own mark. You went and you set up shop somewhere else, and you literally build your life on soil that's different than the soil that you grew up on, right? In a different state, in a different city, in a different area, different region, right? But one thing about it is, if you ever were to visit back to your point of origin, if you ever were to visit home, one of the many things you would quickly realize is that most people, I would say on average, the average person truly stays the same. And when I say stay the same, I mean they stay in the same environment, they stay in the same place, they live and die in the same place they grew up in, right? And as a result of that, in many instances, because of the comfort has always been so abundant, they never truly really had the obligation to grow and expand and become a greater version of themselves. Now, and I'm saying everyone who stays home ends up being the same. I'm not going to say everyone, because there are no absolutes in life, right? Besides taxes and the fact that we're all going to die one day. But besides those two items, there are no absolutes. So I can't say everyone, but a great majority of people who never forced themselves to be uncomfortable, who never, not even force themselves, they never deal with change or growth or putting themselves in a different situation. Those people, for the most part, never really grow and expand and scratch and claw and things of that nature. So, so it's very important. It's incredibly important to have the sight of the fact that when you pay attention to when you go back home to these places, you'll see a lot of the same people who were in the same places before you left, right? You'll be gone for 10 years, 20 years, 15 years, 7 years, and you go back home to visit your people, and you will realize, damn, he was outside this same corner store when we was coming up. We used to hustle over here. We used to get our money over here, bro. And these niggas will still be literally in a state of arrested development to where they're literally just older, or they may have a few things about their lives different. Like they have more kids now, or they have a different job now, if they have a job. But it's a lot of arrested development going on, right? And when you see this arrested development take place or manifest in the physical, it's very disheartening to see. It's very sad. It's a tragic thing to see, right? And if you're a person who's been on your purpose, you've been on your grind, you've been faithful to your mission statement in life, and you have been in positions to where life has been good to you, right? God has rewarded you for existing in the light that you're supposed to. Of course, you'll feel really good about these things, and you'll want to go back home, and it's a natural inclination, right, to want to share this good amongst the people who come from where you come from, right? And not in a sense to brag or to boast, but I know for myself, when I speak, I do this from a place of wanting to inspire and wanting to motivate and wanting to push people to be the best version of them, right? But it's not always received that way. It's not always accepted with the level of humility and positivity that it was intended to, right? So when that happens, you get a lot of hate, you get a lot of jealousy, you get a lot of envy, you get a lot of side stares. You know what I mean? So I notice these things when I go back home, right? And I was having a conversation with a guy that I used to play basketball with when I was in school, and we were just talking about life and just catching up. You know what I mean? He's a solid guy, man, but he's just kind of been a guy who's never really been able to put two and two together, and you see that a lot in our community. A lot of us come up without fathers, or even if we had a guy in the house, a man in the house, he truly wasn't the man in the house that you needed in order to be the man that you were supposed to be, right? I know the bar is set so low in a lot of areas in the black community where they look at it like if they have a man in the house, that's an accomplishment. But you always got to ask yourself, and my follow-up always is, what kind of man is he? Is he an actual man, or is he just an adult male who is of an older age, right? A lot of men grew up in homes that either were absent of a man, or they had an adult male who wasn't able to lead and was weak and pathetic and goofy and feminine acting and just so beat down by everything in life. It was almost like you had two women in the house, trying to run things, So what does that do to a young man, right? I'm trying to get to I'm trying to get to the covers of like what I'm talking about. So what that does to a young man when he comes up in that environment, it brings him up in a cesspool of dysfunction, confusion, envy. There's so much of a lack of masculinity, right? And a lot of black single mothers will exude pseudo masculinity, right? But pseudo masculinity is a feminine trait. There's no masculinity in the pseudo masculine frame, right? And when I say the pseudo masculine frame, I mean some women will create environments to where they try to cosplay as a man, right? They may be in a situation where they're dating a stud, like who's a confused female who still bleeds once a month, but dresses as a guy, right? Or she will, in her mind, convince herself that she can be both the mother and the father to the child or to the children, right? And she'll believe that she can create a dichotomy to where her by herself, she is enough to suffice as a father for the lack of the actual father being present. A lot of niggas grew up in those type of situations, right? And when you see these boys become men, when they get older, you really see a lot of it manifest and play out, bro. And it's never a good sight. It's never a good sight to see a feminine guy, right? Incredibly feminine acting, but portraying to be a man or portraying to be dominant when actually he's a male adult manifestation of his mother. A lot of these niggas be male versions of their bitter ass mamas, bro. And they have this attitude of sassiness, and they're bitter and they're angry at the world, and everything is always another person's fault. And they exude under the spirit of a man who sits down to urinate. And we know how those men fare. We know how those men fare as it pertains to the game of life. They never do well, man. You know, they never do well. And the reason why they never do well is because they operate from a position that is not of power, and they operate from a space that is incredibly feminine. And as a man, you're not built, wired, or designed to operate from your feminine perspective. Now, are there levels of masculinity and levels of femininity in all men and women? Absolutely. You do need to have a side to you as a man to where you're able to exist and exude softer features. You know, I'm being a single father, like, you know, there are nurturing things that I have to exhibit and practice with my child in order to produce and create and nurture a healthy home environment for my kid, right? So I get it, right? I'm very much so into philanthropy, so there comes a lot of empathy and grace that comes with serving downtrodden and at-risk populations, right? From a servitude standpoint, right? But when I speak about femininity that exists in men, I'm talking about men who are led by their emotions. I'm talking about men who are incredibly catty, and they even call themselves these feminine terms. They refer to themselves as petty. Nothing about a man should be petty, bro. Like, petty is very feminine in nature. Like, you shouldn't be passive about the things you feel or the things you want in life. You should have the confidence as a man to be direct enough to state the things that you want and be bold enough to go for them, right? So these men come up in these effeminate households, and they have these characteristics of their mamas and their lonely ass aunties and their male bashing ass cousins and mamas who have been ran through and passed around for so many decades. They have an inability to even connect with a good guy if a good guy were to even come into their lives, right? So they're bringing these boys up with all of this anti-male rhetoric, right? Niggas ain't shit, you know. All these niggas balls, you know. Uh, 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 and they call it dusty today. That's the new term. Like they call for undesirable men dusty. Ironically enough, most of these chicks have procreated with the very man that they consider to be dusty. But I won't get into that conversation today. That's a different topic. I want to stay on point. So it's very vital for a man, I would say, to be at a place in his life where he has faculties and foundations in order. So whether you're a guy who grew up in a household that was stable and you know, you had like men in your life and or who were able to instill certain masculine principles into you that was able to make your life a little easier, right? Or if you're a guy who just had to figure it out as he went along. And I fall into that category, right? The guys who didn't have that and they just kind of had to figure it out as they go throughout life, right? You weren't necessarily prepared for the game, so everything you learned had to come from just experience, right? It had to come from just fucking up, figuring out where you went wrong at, and just going from there, right? So that is something that I really want guys to hone in on, right? Because at the end of the day, I want you guys to understand this. Trial and tribulation in life is inevitable. It's going to happen. There's nothing you can do to sidestep the potential of things going bad or like accidents happening or, you know, mistakes being made or like there are just going to be some storms in your life that are going to be routine. It doesn't matter how smart you are. It doesn't matter how alpha you are. It doesn't matter how confident you are. It doesn't matter how dominant you are. It doesn't matter how much you believe you are on top of your shit. Bullshit is going to occur in your life. People are going to disappoint you. People will lie to you and on you. Accidents will occur, right? Things will go wrong when you need them to go good. All of these things are going to happen. And one of the purposes of the content that I create, I really want to continue to push this dialogue and create this conversation so men will begin to take action on certain things that I know to be true. And one of the things I know to be true is the whole point of this existence as a man, right? Because we all know existing for a man is much different than existing for a woman, right? Neither one is necessarily easy, but women have a lot of safeguards and they have a lot of safety nets in place for when things do or do not go in their favor, right? We know as a man, you're responsible 100% for how your life go, and if you fall or if you slip off a mountain or like off the rope, you know you're done, right? And if you survive the fall, you know you have to start from zero. You have to start from the bottom. So you don't have the societal support of government or this or that to be able to push yourself back up. So I want you guys to know and understand that, right? But the whole point of it is, the whole point of being a man, right, is when the inevitable in life happens, when the mistakes happen, when the bullshit happens, when the pain happens, when the suffering happens. The whole key to this game, from my perspective, right, I'm not a professional psychologist or a doctor or like anyone who has a lot of letters behind his name, right? But from life experience, man, and looking at my life from a big picture standpoint, from the origin point to where I'm at now, you have to know a little bit something to be at this point. And I'm here to tell you, I would surmise that the point of it is when these things happen in life, the greatest part of manhood is having the faculties in order, having the foundations established in your life to where you're able to weather the storm. That's the beauty of manhood. That's one of the most gorgeous things I could think about as it pertains to the man experience. Knowing that bullshit is coming and having the tools in place to be able to withstand it. It's no different than being a quarterback since it's football season. It's no different than being a quarterback and knowing that it's 3rd and 17, so it's a throwing down, it's a passing down, and you know that the blitz is coming. So you know how to call the right pass protections and make the correct audibles to protect yourself, to give you enough time to get rid of the ball and give your receiver an opportunity to make a play, right? That's what life is. When you are an actualized man, you are in a place in your life, not to where your life is perfect, not to where you're exactly where you want to be, quote unquote, not at a place to where bullshit don't happen to you anymore, but you are at a place to where bullshit doesn't affect you long term as it used to, or bullshit isn't forever crippling to you. You're able to weather that storm. You're able to take on that blitz, and it's not the end of the world for you. See, that's a place you really want to be in. That's that sweet spot of existence. You want to be in a place as a man to where you have a cushion, to where when you fall, okay, it's not detrimental to your future or the people around you when you fall. You're able, sometimes you will fall, man, and you won't even get a scratch. You know what I'm saying? Like you just fall and okay, that was just part of the course, right? That's what I want for all you men. That's what I want for all you guys listening to the sound of my voice right now. I want you to be at a place in your life to where it's not the end of the world if you have an auto accident, or like, not an auto accident, but like, you need your vehicles, for example, to get around to and from. It shouldn't be you having to quit a job if you have a car trouble, right? I pray that you have things in place, insurance, or you have a savings, or you have a security net to where if something goes bad with your car, you can fix it without being down too long to where like it affects other parts of your life. You know what I mean? To where if you have an emergency expense, you can cover it, you can take care of it. Or I pray that you have resources around you that can help you take care of it. Because I can tell you this here also. A great part of manhood, man, is having the ability, not necessarily 100% having the ability to be able to solve all your problems, but knowing and having and building a network of people who could assist you to solve problems as well. One of my biggest vices early on in life was I had an inability to ask for help. You know what I mean? I would have like bouts of like homelessness, man, and depression. And I would like carry on my regular day, like, go to work, go to school, like nothing was wrong, because I would literally die before I would let someone else know, hey, I'm fucked up right now, or my money isn't right, or I don't have a safe place to sleep at night because I'm trying to get this shit figured out. I don't have a foundation like that. And this isn't me like complaining or like trying to create a sob story. I'm sharing this information with you guys so you can know like how real it is out here, but also how it's so possible for you to win in life. How success isn't as far away from you as you would like to think, or as the enemies and the haters you have around you would lead you to believe. It is imperative as a man that you have your faculties and your principles in order. And let me go as far as to say this. If you don't have your faculties and principles in order, start today. Start right now at this very moment. And start small. Start small. If you don't have today's Friday, so I know a lot of people getting paid today, right? If you get paid today, man, and you have enough money to pay all your bills and buy some groceries and get some food and get some gas in your car, right? If you got a little extra money left over after all that, say you got, after you do all your expenses, I know things are pretty hard right now with the inflation going on and the pandemic still like hasn't quote unquote ended, and we're in a recession too. Quiet is kept. Say you got like $250 left after you finish, taking care of yourself, paying your bills and all that stuff, right? Half of that 250 needs to get put up and forgotten about. This is for someone who's starting at zero. I'm gonna give y'all the game on how to do this. What I do is I take envelopes, right? And every month with these envelopes, what I do is I'll take 12 envelopes, right? And I'll write on each one the month and $100. So January, $100. February, $100. March, $100. Boom, 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 boom. All the way till December, $100. And every month, every paycheck, I throw $50 in. Here, $50 here, $50 there. I've been doing that for like a few years now. And you can actually put a bigger amount of it than that. But of course, I invest and do other things as well. But just to have that security blanket and savings, man, you can have a transmission issue on a car, or you could have, your apartment can just decide to increase the rent on you like a couple $100, without a heads up or a warning. Or you could have any incident, any real life incident or accident can happen for you to where you're gonna have to shell out some more, or you're gonna be placed in a position where you gotta be able to solve a problem, because that's really what life is. Life is a compilation of problem solving, and those men who solve problems for themselves and others the easiest normally have the most successful life. They normally have the most luck. The guys who can't figure things out for themselves, the guys who struggle at solving their problems and problems for other people, these are the guys who are suicidal. These are the guys who are deeply depressed. These are the guys who are always stressed the fuck out. These are the guys who are always woe is me and the world is fucked up and nobody like me, no one care about me, woo woo woo. I feel empathy for those guys, but I don't want anyone listening to this content to be one of those guys. I want you to be one of the guys who, when issues present themselves in your life, when problems present themselves in your life, you have the faculties and the tools and the know-how to be able to solve your problems. Because when you're able to solve your problems, you put yourself in a different ballgame. When you're able to solve your problems, you are now in a different category. You understand? When you're able to solve your problems, you are now at a place in life to where you don't have to deal with the monotonous of just being in a perpetual state of losing. You'll lose temporarily. You'll take an L in the morning, but you'll figure out how to get past that L, and you'll be popping champagne that evening. That's the mindset you got to have. That's the mindset you got to have every single day. Every day you wake up. Every day the Most High puts oxygen in your lungs, you got to realize there's going to be problems that are going to present themselves today. Do I or do I not have the capacity to solve these problems? And 100% self-actualized man, if the answer to that question is no for himself, please have people around you and have resources to programs and like whatever. Build you a system. Build you a support unit to where, if I'm feeling down spiritually today, do I know a pastor I can call up or a spiritual person that I can call and talk to about my problems, whatever. So before I start rambling, man, and do another 2 hours about this subject matter, let me go ahead and wrap this thing up. I will put this on the podcast, on the Be a Man podcast, but it's not really part of a season. Season 7 is on the way, man, for Be a Man podcast. I got a lot of great ideas coming up. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, the CJ Wilkins YouTube channel. And as always, it's your boy, and I'm out. Peace.